We have blazing heat that's coming out of Pakistan right now, blowing into the India area. These are called the Lu winds. It's difficult to figure out whether there's an official Lu wind that has developed or not, but the India Meteorological Department has issued orange level warnings in effect for parts of the Delhi, along with 4 other states in India, where temperatures are rising into the mid 110s. Some places have reached 45 degrees Celsius. Other areas are expecting to reach 50 degrees Celsius. That's 122 degrees Fahrenheit. The Lu winds, if this is the Lu winds that come out of Pakistan that are extremely hot and dry, and as we've mentioned before, the drier it is, the hotter it will feel when it's windy outside, because the evaporation rate is so intense that your body never gets wet. So there is no evaporative cooling effect. There's very little on your body, so the body has no way for cooling itself off. Just like we say in hot and humid weather, the body has very little way of cooling itself off. It's worse in hot, dry, windy weather, as can be seen from the motorcycle races in Kansas, where there's more heat illnesses on windy days when temperatures are above 95 degrees than humid days without the wind. There will be some relief coming to New Delhi, India, by May 2nd or so as a weather disturbance moves across the area. That's what they say. Their meteorological department, that's what they're saying. You know, the Lu winds are it's really fascinating stuff. Some think that it produces different types of illnesses in the body, but the truth of the matter is, it's been reported for over 100 years already that many of the illnesses die. They die out with the Lu winds. The mosquito population goes away, things die, the birds die, things die. So the various insects that are spreading disease, all of these things die. People could look it up themselves if they're interested in that topic and to see its impact on COVID or not. I would think if there's any type of weather phenomena that maybe could do something on a disease, it would be the Lu winds. These winds, they bring in very powerful heat. People are known to end up in hospitals, chas v'shalom, God forbid. There's also been a lot of fires that have been going on there. You could read about that as well. But speaking about fires, extreme fire hazards over there, which makes sense. It's super dry, it's super hot, and the vegetation's very dry, and it's windy. We have our own fire hazards taking place over here, the strongest of which is in South Texas by the Rio Grande Village area, probably by Midland, Texas, where relative humidity is dropping to 4%. The relative humidity when it comes to fire danger is a more accurate way to figure out the danger than dew point, despite the fact that dew point is a more accurate way to measure the humidity. They have strong winds, very dry vegetation over there, and hot temperatures. The only National Weather Service that I've been able to find that actually mentions the temperatures in their forecast, besides the East Coast, they have fire hazards as well. New Jersey, Passaic, New Jersey, New York City, Philadelphia, places like that. I would imagine Lakewood, New Jersey as well. They have their own fire hazards, but it's a different type. So they mention temperatures. In New Jersey, they mention temperatures just to verify, just to inform the public that indeed it will be fire spreading conditions. The limit on that, the minimal temperature has to be 60, in some areas 50. So they inform the public that it will be in the low 60s. But elsewhere, temperatures are not really brought up until you go into Oklahoma, where high temperatures are forecasted to be in the mid to upper 90s. The combination of those really hot temperatures, mid to upper 90s, along with low relative humidity, which for them is between 5 and 10%, 5 and 10%, not 4%, that's for Texas, along with winds. Here's another very interesting terminology. 20 mile per hour winds, 20-foot waves of 20 mile per hour winds. Now, when you first see that, you think there must be a typo. Why are they writing waves? There's no lake there. There's no marine forecast. What are the waves all about? So normally, this is the deal. In many areas, normally the wind speeds officially are taken at a level 33 feet above the surface in many locations. But in order to figure out what type of weather will spread fires, the best location to take those winds are 20 feet above the surface. So when they say 20-foot waves, that means that the wind speeds 20 feet above the surface will be such and such, whatever it's going to be. So they're very exact on their measuring when it comes to fire. They measure the winds differently, although some say that even the official wind speeds might actually be taken at 20 feet above the surface in some locations. But these wind speeds could be different than the official that's measured at the airport. These wind speeds could be different. It's called the 20-foot waves wind speeds. That, in combination with dry vegetation, super low humidity, it doesn't even have to be as low as it is. It just has to be under 15%. You know, on the East Coast, relative humidity 10 to 15%, not 4%. Temperatures low 60s, not 90s. And the vegetation, I doubt it's as dry as it is in Texas and places like that. But they have their own fire. They have red flag warnings up in New Jersey as well, New York, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we have another area of red flag warnings out in the plains and New Mexico and the desert Southwest, included Arizona, parts of Oklahoma, Texas, and even in Kansas as well. The red flag warnings remain in effect. This is in response to a lot of things, as we've mentioned, but the storm system that's developing over in the plains, that's responsible for bringing strong northwest winds into Denver, Colorado. Denver, Colorado also has a red flag warning. Relative humidity 10 to 15%. They mentioned, granted, that the fire weather risk is higher when you go south of Denver and when you go north of Denver, but it remains high in Denver as well, so there's red flag warnings for them as well. The storm system is making its contribution, but it is also producing its precipitation. So that makes it better for it reduces the fire weather risk and fire spreading. But the real storm system that's going to be reducing the fire weather risk is going to be Sunday evening storm system, because that's the one that's going to be going over the Texas area. And that's really the area where the vegetation is the driest. So that's something that people could look forward to for Texas. And they're also, if there was a chance for thunderstorms in New Delhi, India, they could look forward to that. But I don't really see any rain in the forecast at all, despite all this talk about a weather disturbance. But the places in India that will be getting the weather disturbance, they could look forward to that. Either way, some cooler temperatures look like they're coming in as winds shift from the west to the east in India, although that could mean an increase in humidity. We will, there's plenty more to say, so much more to say, but I just don't have time right now at the second. We'll just briefly mention the things that are necessary to talk about if we want to do an adequate job of covering this country. Is the snow that still is going on in Maine. Light snow, about an additional inch of snow for today. We have 8 to 14 inches of snow in Montana with a winter storm warning. A new front pulls onto the coast this evening. We have tornado risks and severe thunderstorm risks for the plains, which moves into Missouri. Even today already, parts of Missouri, but it covers more of the St. Louis area tomorrow and heads off even in the Chicago area tomorrow, but the higher chances remain south of Interstate 80. The real warm air doesn't make it into Chicago, but it does make it into the St. Louis area. Temperatures go close to 80 degrees. Very high moisture affects the northern plains, North Dakota, bringing rain. Even some thunderstorms for Bismarck, North Dakota. Some of that rain could be heavy. That combined with snow melt, even for Minnesota, the snow melt and runoff is going to produce flooding, not just for the rivers. In this case, flooding even on just the land. Floods on the land, and on the very back side, temperatures will be cold enough for that precipitation to fall as snow. And as of last night, forecasters were forecasting a widespread 1 to 3 inches for parts in way, at least, on the map it showed North Dakota. But in regards to how much of North Dakota, I am not clear on that anymore. So those are things that should be spoken about in the heat down in Texas. We mentioned mid to upper 90s in Oklahoma. You won't see it on some of the weather maps, but that's part of this whole fire weather risk, and they're bringing it up. You won't see the 108 degrees for Rio Grande Village. You won't even see anyone forecasting it, but I'm pretty sure it will be 108 today. It was 106 yesterday. Whatever it was yesterday, it should be hotter today. And we have the humidity coming back onto the coast for Houston. That started yesterday. We're going to continue to see an increase in humidity today. Temperatures get even warmer for tomorrow. Thunderstorms continue for the Miami area. That front just remains over Miami as it usually does. Those chances for thunderstorms remain over Miami even after the front moves through, and temperatures don't even change much even after the front moves through. Classic Miami. It's just classic Miami. There's probably parts of this forecast that were missed. We have some forecasts calling for highs in the mid to upper 60s for Los Angeles today. Others saying mid to upper 70s. Temperatures near 90 degrees for Phoenix today. Mid 90s tomorrow. High temperatures ranging from mid 70s to low 80s for the St. Louis area. Different forecasts for Chicago ranging from mid 60s to possibly the low 70s. And thunderstorms even possibly severe even for the Chicago area tomorrow. Even for the northern parts of Chicago, it's possible. But the northern parts are only in a marginal weather risk, severe weather risk. But south of Interstate 80, it goes to a slight, which is a 20% chance. In the plains today, there's an enhanced risk, which is a 30% chance, along with a 2% chance for tornadoes in some locations, but a 10% chance for tornadoes in parts of Kansas and areas very close to that area in Nebraska and Oklahoma. That's what we have time to cover for today. Thank you for listening. I wish everybody a great day. Have a good Shabbos. Have a wonderful weekend.